guys, welcome to a new video. So this week I'm doing something really special. So if you can see from the title, this is a Q&A. I thought this would be a really good time to do it since everyone's struggling with choosing JCs after your O-level results. For those who gotten your O-level result, if you didn't do well, it's really okay. It's not the end of the world. You've probably heard this a million times, but it's really not important in the long run, and sometimes I forget what I get for O's because it's just not important to me. For those who did well, congratulations. I'm sure your hard work paid off and you should be proud of whatever you get and just feel like you've deserved it. So I'm just gonna hop in straight into the Q&A. I wrote some questions down. I asked you guys on TikTok to ask me any questions that you have with regards to JC or anything, just my life in general, and you guys came through. So I wrote down some questions on my iPad, so if I look down then you guys know what I'm looking at. So let's just get straight into it. So starting off, I'm just gonna talk about choosing a JC. This is just my personal preference and what worked for me. It does not mean that you have to follow whatever I say. It's just what I feel is the best way to choose your JC, or how I feel will make you enjoy and have a more fruitful 2 years. So for me, in choosing my JC, I'm a DSA kid. As most of you guys know, I play football in JC and I chose SAJC. After choosing the JC, I really enjoyed it. I enjoy SA so much, and I think it's a really great school for anyone who's considering it. I'll get into it more later. But firstly, I think when you're choosing your JC, number one, you should always try and be able to at least make the cutoff or even do better than the cutoff point. I know a lot of friends who were risking their first and second choices, and they ended up not really getting into any of the JCs on their list or even the last few ones on their list. So you should always have a good idea of what the cutoff points are, and I'm sure you can find it on the internet. A really basic first tip. The second is to really know a lot about the school. All schools have school websites. You can go onto the websites. If they have a college prospectus, so college prospectus is basically a handbook for prospective students. You can just search for SAJC or ACJC college prospectus. What they have in it, they should have school rules, school dismissal timings-ish, starting timings, list of CCA, subject combi is really important. I'll go into that later too. And they have a lot of things about the school that you should know. Other than that, talk to your seniors, talk to people who are from different JCs. You can talk to me if you want to know about SA. Just comment on my TikTok or comment on this video and I'll reply to you as much as I can. You can also DM me on Instagram, that would be good too. Ask around, ask your seniors what JC they've been to and what their experiences are like. JC experiences really differ from person to person, so it's really important that you just don't take it based off what one person says. Talk to as many people as you can, ask for their friends' numbers and stuff like that. Ask them what kinds of experiences they had in JC, what made the JC life fruitful, what they enjoyed about the school, what they didn't enjoy about the school, things like that. It's really important to know a lot about the culture from the people who went there rather than just looking at the school websites or open house, which may also be important, which is also important, but it's also important to know what the school life is like from people who've been there. So I really suggest talking to your seniors and their friends and really understand what a day in a life is at the different JCs and their experiences, genuine experiences. That's what I found really helpful in deciding my JC. In the end, I found that choosing a JC that you would be happy with, not compelled by the interests of others or maybe even your parents. You should take their concerns into account, but ultimately it should be your own choice. I think there was someone who commented about choosing JCs based on the materials that the school gives. Although this may be a good way to find out which JC has good resources and materials, I feel that these materials and resources can always be shared by friends from other schools, you know, even though that might not be right. But these aren't the most important things. After all, if you're checking in with your teacher, ensuring that you understand everything you have, even if it may not be the best materials, it is always important to be able to learn your content well and understand your content well so that you can create learning resources for yourself that are helpful instead of being spoon-fed by the school. I think something in JC that I really learned how to do is independent learning, how to use the resources that my JC has given me to the best of my ability, and with all that I have, what can I do with these? For example, I can have one stack of lecture notes. Maybe another classmate of mine would be watching the lectures, rewatching the recorded lectures over again, ensuring that she really understands it, highlighting the important things, tape flagging the things she doesn't understand and going for consults. Whereas I might just be watching the lecture once through, assuming that I've learned it and I know it well enough, and I just move on with my tutorials. So the way you use your lecture notes, the way you use your resources that your school has given you is so important. And I think above all, that's really the most important. The amount of effort you're willing to put in, be consistent. So yeah, I hope that answers your question for whoever asked about the JC materials. Next up, I'll be talking about the SAJC culture. So this is a question I got a lot on TikTok, Instagram, everything. This is a question I always hear. So for me, I really enjoy the SAJC culture. I think this came from, number one, a really positive mindset, because I had quite a poor schooling experience in secondary school, which is not a common occurrence for a lot of people, I feel. So going into JC, I was really looking forward to having a change of environment, change the groups of people I was hanging out with, and having just new people and new experiences to look forward to. So I really had a very positive mindset coming into JC, and I really chose to focus on the good sides of a lot of things that happened. Even with the COVID situation, even with my season being cancelled, I was really forcing myself to look on the bright side above anything else. And I think that's really something that helped me make my experience in JC really worthwhile and fulfilling. This might not be true for a lot of people and might not be true for everyone who comes to SA, but I know that more often than not, a lot of my friends are happy with their choice in SA. One thing I was very thankful for was I had a very good class. So having a good class and having good classmates and friends you can hang around with is so important. It's just being surrounded by good company, good energy that you can relate to and talk to and go through the 2 years of JC with. I think that's really important. So it's about getting a good class. Something that also helped me through JC and enjoy the SAJC culture a lot more was being in football. My team was really close. We were really bonded, and trainings were something that we could all look forward together and just enjoying each other's companies. On late days, we would always celebrate birthdays and just have a good time, enjoy life together and go through life together, study after school. So I think finding a really good CCA, I'll talk a bit more about this later as well. Finding a good CCA with good company and forming good relationships with your friends and teammates, I think that's something that really helped me through JC. The last thing that helped me enjoy SA a bit more was my subject combi. Something I'm not sure a lot of people would agree with my subject combination. I took a really interesting subject combination. I took a hybrid combination, and not a lot of people do this in JC. Most people take PCME, BCME, but I took 3H2s. I took Chem, Math, Econs, and my H1 was History. Going into JC, my favorite subject was always chemistry, and I knew that I wanted to take chemistry and math because they were subjects that I was interested in, and I wanted to try out Econ as I thought that I might be good at it. But I really didn't know anything coming into JC. But after choosing my 3H2 CME, I really am thankful for the subject combi I took. And for anyone asking what subject combi I recommend Chem, Math, Econs, only because I feel that it has a good mix of content heavy and less content heavy subjects. Math is just a practice subject, practice only, and that's all you can do to get good at math. Chem is also a lot of understanding and revision and doing TYS, pass your papers. It's a grinding subject. Econs is a reading and writing subject. If you don't want to read, don't think about doing well in Econs. It's really about reading, understanding your content and practicing. If you guys want more in-depth details on how I study, I have videos up on my TikTok about how I study for the different subjects that I took. Lastly, I chose history as my H1. It's the one subject I regret the most. I didn't take it in secondary school. I struggled throughout JC. I didn't enjoy it at all. I would much rather have taken physics, and yeah, it's just personal preference. But above all, I really think that in JC, taking subjects you're interested in is the most important. And also, if you can take physics and you're interested in physics, please take physics. It's the most important subject and you can get into a lot of uni courses of physics. I regret not taking physics, so for those who have the chance to do physics, please do it. So yeah, that's about all. Those are the 3 things that really helped me enjoy my JC experience. While choosing my subject combi, it was a lot about interest and passion, and I think that's something that's really important in JC because it's a grueling 2 years. So if you're doing something that you really don't enjoy, something that you don't find interesting at all, you will really have a hard time. And so doing the subjects I'm really interested is something that helped me so much more. About SAJC culture, one thing that I found great about SAJC culture was that I think people were generally very welcoming, really open to sharing about their experiences in the school, really open to making friends. A lot of people are really friendly, and I just had good experiences with the people around me. And that might not be the case for everyone, and that's okay, but I made some of my best friends and I met my boyfriend in school, so I think I really came out with many good relationships and good company. I got a question on how CCA affected my social and my JC life, as well as whether it affected the kind of cliques that were formed in school. So I would say to a certain extent yes, because I was really close to my team, so I hung out with them a lot. And for those who don't have CCAs, they might not have that friend group from the CCAs, but I don't think it affected my social life. I think not having a CCA doesn't affect your social life to such a great extent. I think if you're willing to be open, meet new friends, I think you can meet lots of new people without having a CCA. And I know a lot of friends who had a CCA that they didn't have many friends in, or even didn't have a CCA, but they still came out of JC with many good friends. And so I don't think it's that important and integral into having a good social life, if that's what you're asking. But I really recommend having a CCA. It really balances your life a lot more. I think with having sports and work, it really helped me have a better stress management levels, and just generally a very happy JC life. Might not be the case for everyone, but I think joining a sports CCA, or at least having any CCA, would be really beneficial to lightening up and making your JC life more fruitful. I also think that you go through a lot of experiences that you might not get if you don't join a CCA. So if you're interested, you can talk to people in CCAs you're interested in. Please join football. Football is an amazing CCA. Join sport. Does it determine your JC clique? I wouldn't say it determines your JC clique, just because you can meet a lot of people in JC and it does not necessarily have to be from your CCA. But I did make a lot of good friends in my CCA, and I do really enjoy hanging out with them, especially in school. So maybe if you get a close-knit CCA, it will be something that makes your experience in school a little bit better. I hope that answers your question. I'm not really sure what you meant, but I hope I did a decent job in answering it. Another question I got was, what was one habit that you thought that was really great that you implemented and you enjoyed doing in JC? I think this is a really good question. One thing I implemented was really trying my best to be consistent with my work, even with a lot of activities going on, even with a lot of CCA going on. I continually tried to be consistent. Sometimes saying no to your friends for dinner really does go a long way. In J1, I had to struggle a lot with saying no and with turning down my friends sometimes in order to get my work done. And I'm not saying that you should turn down your friends to get work done, but I think that having a work and study life balance is so important. Really ensuring that you're taking time out of your schedule to revise your work, to study, was what really helped me do well in J1. I would like to say I had a decent work-life balance. I played football 3 times a week, I went out with my friends, and I did anything that a normal JC kid would do, and I still managed to keep my grades up. So I think that's something that is doable. It's really doable if you have the commitment to your studies and if you're willing to put in the work even when you're really tired after CCA, during the weekends, really willing to work hard and put in the work that you need to do in order to keep your grades up. And I think it was really worthwhile, and it really helped make me enjoy my JC life more because my grades weren't that bad. So if you guys are interested on knowing more about how to keep your grades up in JC when everything is so difficult, let me know whatever questions you have. I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Of course, I had my fair shares of E, S's and U's, and I got E for A-level Chinese, so I'm not sure whether I have qualified to talk about this. Personally, I don't think anyone should have to go to JC. I had to struggle so much and I had to work so hard to get the grades that I got, and they weren't even the best grades ever. So if you guys have the chance to do IB, please do IB. There's no question about that. If you can do IB, if you qualify for IB, please go to IB. Someone asked, is there anything you wish that you had known or people told you before you went to JC? One thing that I wish people emphasized and talked about more was burnout in J2. I really had a bad time towards the end, nearing A-levels. I was so burnt out. I refused to write a single sentence more. I refused to do a single exam paper more. Refused to finish my TYS, and I think that's because I really worked so hard for my block test too. So even for prelims, I couldn't bring myself to work hard anymore. I struggled so much throughout prelims with burnout and not wanting to study anymore. But by God's grace, I have no idea, but I did decently well for prelims. And I think that's just a testament to how important consistency is throughout the 2 years. I really struggled with burning out, so if anyone has tips on how you can prevent burnout, I'm really not sure. One thing that kind of helped for me towards the end of A's is just pacing myself, not studying too hard on days that I felt motivated, and having a good study timetable that I could follow even when struggling to do work. I'm not sure if anything I said makes sense, but if anyone has any tips, please let me know. I've been struggling with burnout throughout my whole 2 years and even in secondary school for O-levels, so I would really appreciate some tips. I think we've come to the end of the video. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to comment it and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. If you have any other interest in knowing about my JC life, how I studied, you can go to my TikTok. I'll link it in the description. I post a lot of videos on how I organize for JC, how my JC life is, and how I studied, so I think that could be useful. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was useful. And for those choosing your JC, don't be too stressed out. The most important is to have a good mindset going into JC. So even if you don't get into the JC of your choice, your dreams, it's okay. It's really okay. Just do your best in whatever circumstance you're placed in. Make do with what you have. I think that's really important. Just always looking on the bright side. It can be difficult and it can be tiring, but it's really worth it, and I think it will really help you make the 2 years as fruitful and as special as you could make it. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys soon.